ahead and cut out your pattern. And then we are going to take the back side, and where that dart is, I'm just going to follow one side of the dart the rest of the way down and cut that apart. So then the other side, I'm going to trace that back out really quick, and I'm going to use my ruler, so where the top of that dart is, I'm just going to continue that line all the way down, and then finish the bottom of that. And I started cutting, but you need to add in seam allowance on that side where we cut it in half, because now we need to sew those two pieces together. So add in your seam allowance and then cut that out. I'd recommend labeling these as you do this, by the way. So then the other side, all we have to do is add seam allowance. So go ahead and trace that again, add your desired seam allowance, and then you can cut that out as well. Again, make sure you label which piece of the pattern that is. So then we're going to do the same thing with the front. My front didn't have darts in it. If you want darts in yours, you can, but what I'm going to do is square off the bottom. So where that curve is, there's going to be that gap now. And then since mine doesn't have darts, I'm just going to cut it in half. And then line up that corner, but turn that top into that line so you're closing that gap. And then we're just going to follow that line down that was already on the skirt and add seam allowance. And then I'll just label that the front center piece. Do the same thing to the side and cut that out on your fabric and your lining. So we'll start with the front. And the front center has straight down seams because that's where the buttons will go, so I'll lay those mirrored to each other. And the sides, we're going to go ahead and put those right side together and sew down those side seams. Iron it really well, and when you open it up, the front is done. Do the same thing with the lining. Then we'll go ahead and do the back. So the back was cut on a fold, so you literally just unfold it, and those are the two sides. Sew down the side seams. We'll do the same thing for the lining, just right sides together and sew down the sides, and then attach the front to the back at the sides and do the same with the lining. So then instead of using the actual waistband that I had on this pattern, I'm going to do a self-on waistband. So I'm going to take some twill tape, and you want to iron it so it has a curve to it. But it moves really well, so you can kind of just force it to happen and iron it later if you want. But you're literally going to sew it on top of the fabric, not right sides together, just on top. And then I'm going to trim off my extra fabric there so that I don't have a bunch of bulk in the way. And this is what it looks like on the wrong side. So then I'm going to put that on top of the wrong side of the front one, so that when I fold it down, if I want, I can top stitch it. But that's what it looks like from the right side when I've ironed it, and from the wrong side you can see that twill top is just on top of all of the other fabric. So then we'll cut off the excess here at the bottom, because that's poking down a little bit further from the skirt. And I will go ahead and hem the lining in, and then I'll hem the skirt fabric as well. And I am going to trim the corners of this twill tape so it's not poking out. I'm just going to fold that in and sew on top of it and add my buttonholes. And then I'm going to use my nifty little buttonhole cutter to make the actual buttonholes and attach the buttons, and voila! That's it. A skirt in an afternoon. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you like and subscribe for more. And here is the version I made for myself.